Hi, welcome to RMU Live. Today's day is Monday, March 19th. I'm Logan Carney.
And I'm Reagan Check. Here's what's happening now.
Congressional leaders and the White House are preparing to agree on an accord of a $1.3 trillion catch-all spending bill that while the two sides are disputing topics such as immigration, abortion, and a New York to New Jersey railway project. They need to reach an agreement by Friday to avoid another government shutdown.
All 6 victims of the Florida bridge collapse have been accounted for. Here's Kim Hutcherson with more.
Days after a pedestrian bridge crumbled, crushing cars and people, authorities say all of the victims have been accounted for.
That makes it a total of 5 people that were recovered from underneath the bridge. There was 1 individual that passed away at the hospital, for a total of 6 people. And I believe that is the final count.
Search crews worked tirelessly to extract vehicles and recover the victims, holding a moment of silence Saturday as the 5th vehicle was pulled from the rubble. Alexa Duran, Brandon Brownfield, Oswald Gonzalez, Rolando Fraga Hernandez, Alberto Arias, and Navarro Brown have been identified as victims of the tragedy. Police were worried they'd find more victims as they sifted through the 950 tons of concrete and steel.
We're going to go once again and make sure that there's nobody else down there, but we're pretty confident that no one's left. So all the victims have been removed from this site and taken to the medical examiners, so eventually they could be turned over to their family members.
Now that search and recovery is over, investigators are combing the scene to preserve evidence before the site is cleaned up. The NTSB is trying to figure out what caused the span to fall, amid revelations of cracking reported by engineers in the days before the deadly collapse. Relatives of at least 1 victim are demanding answers from the builders of the bridge.
Come forward and tell your story. I want to know who's responsible.
I'm Kim Hutcherson reporting.
Thanks, Kim. The bridge collapsed around 1:47 p.m. The first 2 vehicles were extracted Saturday, but it wasn't until Saturday night that they found 2 more bodies.
Pennsylvania bridges are not to be of concern, though, says the PA Turnpike officials, as it turns out that a company that built the bridge, the one that recently collapsed in Florida, has also built bridges in Pennsylvania. The National Republican Congressional Committee is asking federal agents to investigate what they believe are voting irregularities, in the 18th Congressional District special election. This comes as Democrat Connor Lamb appears to have won Tuesday's election by several hundred votes over Rick Saccone, despite it still not being announced.
On Saturday, 16-year-old Amy Yu and 45-year-old Kevin Esterly were found in Mexico after they were reported missing for nearly 2 weeks. Police say that Yu willingly ran away with Esterly. Esterly was arrested and is expected to be extradited back to Pennsylvania. Yu is unharmed and returned home to Pennsylvania with her family.
Gateway Clipper crews found a bobcat stowed away on the top deck of the flagship. It was a North American bobcat and was found just 5 minutes before passengers were set to board. Crews had to take special precautions to keep the customers away from the animal.
On Saturday, the Catholic Diocese of Pittsburgh announced Saturday that the elementary education program at St. Rosalia Academy in Greenfield will close at the end of this school year. Other Catholic schools like North American Martyrs School and St. Bernadette School will merge their elementary education programs for the 2018 and 19 school year. There are many other Catholic schools doing this as well as a cause of financial struggles.
Around the country, students travel to Washington, D.C. to protest with the March for Our Lives, and some mothers opened their beds for them to come stay. Here's Victoria Sanchez with more on that story.
Elizabeth Andrews knew she wanted to help students find a place to stay when they traveled to March for Our Lives in Washington.
I think my first thought was that we would just find the group who does this sort of thing.
It turns out there isn't one. So she and a group of moms created March for Our Lives Lodging.
Each one of these little pins will relate to a family.
They're coordinating host families, more than 1,000 so far, who are offering up a room or 2.
The kids in Florida have really shown the way, and we as parents, the least we can do is, suit up and do our best to help them.
Julie Stewart calls herself the matchmaker and finds the student and their chaperone a free place to stay.
It feels good to know that we have people out there who are supporting us.
Jocelyn Milius is a junior at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, the high school that lost 17 students and teachers during the Valentine's Day shooting. She spoke with us on FaceTime from Parkland, Florida, and says the only way she's able to come to the March 24th demonstration is because of the DC moms.
All of us from Florida, we really appreciate you guys. I mean, you are giving us our home without knowing who we really are. We are just strangers, and yet the fact that you believe in us as tomorrow's leaders, and I mean, I'm really happy.
It took a bunch of kids to get us here, but for the first time, I feel really hopeful.
Truly amazing stuff from a lot of parents outside of Washington, D.C., inside Washington, D.C., opening their homes to more kids who are exercising their right to protest.
On Sunday, a water main break in Beaver County, specifically Ambridge, PA, left the community without water for most of the day. The cause was a break in a 12-inch line, but it was precarious for the crews to get the break, which is caused the delay. The winner for the 8th largest Powerball in history was announced on Saturday, and the winning ticket was sold right here in Pennsylvania. The jackpot was worth $456. According to lottery officials, the ticket was sold at a Speedway gas station in Moon Township, Lancaster County.
A woman taking too much over-the-counter drugs led to her needing a new liver. We head to Cleveland for this story.
How many times have you taken over-the-counter medication when you've had a cold or the flu? Stephanie Soriano did just that when she got sick back in January. This busy mom took the typical things. She just wanted to knock out the illness so she could keep going.
I was taking Tylenol during the day, towards the evening as well. Then at nighttime for bedtime so I could sleep. I would take NyQuil. Then I would wake up around 2 to 3 in the morning and take Theraflu as well.
Although everything she took would work on cold symptoms, they all had one common ingredient, acetaminophen. And after several days of taking over-the-counter remedies to get rid of the flu, Stephanie began to feel worse.
I was coming in and out of conscious. I wanted water very badly, but I couldn't make it to the bathroom or to my kitchen to grab anything.
Doctors say Stephanie had unknowingly poisoned her liver. Ordinarily, acetaminophen is a safe and effective drug, but the Food and Drug Administration has warned that too much can damage liver function. In Stephanie's case, doctors say the amount she was taking was slowly killing her liver cells to the point where it had just ceased to function. Unresponsive, Stephanie was rushed to university hospitals where her family and friends got the bad news. She needed a transplant.
So Thursday night is when they put her on the list. They told us all the worst case scenarios about it could be months, it could be, we might not be able to find a match.
But there was a match. On the list only a day or so when a donor liver was found in Philadelphia. The donor saved Stephanie's life, and her doctors at UH say her recovery after the transplant is astounding. A simple mistake almost cost her life, and she's grateful for that second chance and the family that gave her so much.
It's a gift like none other. I've always been an organ donor myself, but you never really sit there and think that such a big ordeal can definitely happen to you.
In Cleveland, Roosevelt Leftwich, Fox 8 News.
Now, the Food and Drug Administration has warned that this could happen with these type of over-the-counter pills and cautions to watch your intake with this type of medicine. Now we're going to send it over to Ava Patel with a quick look at the upcoming weather.
Thanks, guys. What's going on this week? We're going to have first day of spring starting tomorrow at 12:15, but that doesn't stop the snow coming in. We're coming in with the snow on Tuesday with a high of 33 with 24% of snow coming in the mid-afternoon. When you go into the afternoon class, we got a 35 with a 77% chance of snow, so wear your boots just in case you might slip. And in the evening time, you got 35 with a 73% of snow coming in. And then Wednesday coming in, we got over 29 29 degrees going up with a chance of 69% going through with the snow coming in the early morning after afternoon class with a 39th degree with 48% chance of snow. And when evening time goes in, we're going to have a 29 degree with a 4%. All around, we're going to have a couple inches of snow coming in. So be sure to wear that winter coat and winter boots because we still have one more coming in before spring coming in and give us a full sunshine. So now I'm going to send it back to Reagan and Logan for more on this.
For the best coverage in Robert Morris and around the Pittsburgh area, be sure to check out RMUCenturyMedia.com. Coming up, United Airlines had an incident with a dog, and it's probably not the one you were thinking about.
And a Massachusetts attorney announces an investigation with 2 companies that have ties to the Trump campaign. We'll be right back.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average 4-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Here at Robert Morris University, we pride ourselves at the experience that our students gain while they're actively learning in the classroom. Some even come back to share that knowledge with new students.
I never dreamed that I'd be back here. I'm having so much fun. I'm doing a lot of what I was trained to do and what I went to school for.
The Colonial Sports Network is a great opportunity for students to learn real job skills in sports programming.
To be able to see what the students want to make of it, because it can be anything that they want.
I love being here, seeing students, seeing myself in the students that work with me, and I'm really blessed to have so much talent to work with. It's really amazing.
To be able to see students become successful after Robert Morris is really cool.
Join the Colonial Sports Network team and expand your future today.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool.
To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
Attorney General Maura Healey announced Saturday that her office is opening an investigation into Facebook and the data firm Cambridge Analytica, which has ties to the Trump campaign. On Friday, Facebook said that Cambridge Analytica provided information to third party, which is a breach of Facebook's policies. Cambridge Analytica told Facebook that the information was destroyed, but recent evidence suggests otherwise.
Most successful gun buyback ever in the history of Miami. We've confiscated long rifles, assault rifles, sniper rifles, ARs, AK-47s, all kinds, Tech 9, all kinds of different guns that we've confiscated today. And it's just an effort to get these guns off our streets. We don't want them being stolen from people's homes. It's no questions asked. You're getting coupons that you cannot buy guns with. And, this is just an effort by the police department with private donations, no public funds, to keep our city the safest city in America.
128 guns were brought back by the Miami Police Department in a gun buyback event. The guns bought back included rifles, handguns, and shotguns.
United Airlines had an in-flight incident with a dog, and it's probably not the one that you're thinking about. On Thursday, a flight from Newark to St. Louis was diverted when the airline learned that there was an unauthorized passenger aboard, a dog. The dog was bound for Akron, Ohio, but was accidentally loaded on the plane to St. Louis. The airline chose the fastest option to reunite the dog to its family and gave passengers compensation for the delay.
Now we're going to be heading to Kansas to learn more about the world's oldest movie theater. Alyssa Donovan has more.
The sign still reads, America's oldest cinema, But Peach Model says she'll be updating that very soon.
We finally won the world record that we have been trying to prove for several years.
In the corner of the Plaza Cinema lobby sits the official certificate. It's surrounded by the evidence Model used to prove her cinema in Ottawa, Kansas, has been operating for nearly 111 years.
Movie titles, ads.
The two-screen theater has gone through quite a few updates since it opened in 1907.
Plaza Cinema has had several names. It first started off at the Bijou, and then the Yale, and then it became the Crystal Theater.
Today, one screen is used for feature films, but Model uses the other to show older films and a short film on the cinema's history.
Right now we're in 1925. It's a silent movie, and the movie's The Lost World.
But behind the screens, she's created a movie memorabilia museum. Throughout the years, she's collected items from popular films, original scripts, props, and costume pieces.
And that was Alamo, and this was Horse Soldiers.
The new title of World's Oldest Cinema is one Model is very proud of, and she hopes it will attract more people to Ottawa.
We're so excited. I think this is a great way for us to maybe have a little economic driver for our downtown because we didn't change.
Reporting in Ottawa, Alyssa Donovan, 41 Action News.
For 110 years, people in Ottawa have had the chance to watch a movie in what is now a true tourist destination.
An IUP student stood up for his beliefs in class, and now he's not sure if he'll even be allowed back in class. Here's Gage Golding with more.
Well, I went to class, and I spoke up against the professor's use of a video. During the video, some anecdotal accounts were made about things like systemic male sexism towards women, white male privilege, highlighting specifically male privilege, and things like mansplaining, and also there were some allusions to the gender wage gap.
Senior religious studies student at the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, Luke Engel, was removed of class and is now facing disciplinary action after what he says he spoke out against the professor in a religious class. IUP professor Dr. Allison Downey sent Engel to the Academic Integrity Board at the university after she says Engel was disrespectful, speaking out of turn, and causing problems in class. Engel has already been receiving national media attention as his story has already been featured on Fox News and other major networks.
Right, so the smallest thing I'll probably face if I'm let back into class is a slap on the wrist, like maybe I'll have to apologize. I had to pay $750 out of pocket to pay for my lawyer for the hearing, so I guess that's a consequence of all this. Initially, she just wanted me to write an apology, so that was like the punishment that I would have had primarily. But then the next step that the professor took was to get me removed from the class permanently.
Engel reached out for legal support and now does not know if he will receive credit for the course or will be allowed back into another class.
The story continues to spread nationwide. However, there still is not any news if the student has been allowed back in class or if he will even get credit for it. On Saturday, a Cirque du Soleil performer died after he fell during a performance in Tampa, Florida. The performer was Yann Arnaud. Arnaud was an aerialist who is said to have been performing in the company show Volta when he fell to the stage. Arnaud has been performing for the company for over 15 years. The company states that they are prepared to give its full collaboration to the authorities. We're going to check in with Avin Patel about the weather. Avin, how's it looking outside?
Thanks, guys. We are outside in front of the Nicholson Center, which is actually really nice outside with a high of 50 degrees as it current now. And honestly, you can smell the spring in the air. You can smell the nice, cool air coming in and breezing down on you. It's a good day to do some grilling, do some picnic out here, and do a little bit of walk because tomorrow the snow will come in, will hit you harder than a truck. And then we're going to head with the snow, and I'm going to talk more about that on the 5-day forecast. Logan, Reagan, back to you guys on the desk.
Thanks, Avin. Coming up, Saudi Arabia's crown prince is here in the United States.
Vladimir Putin will lead Russia for another 6 years. But people are claiming that the election is a sham. Don't go anywhere.
It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Smokey! Only you can prevent wildfires.
Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince arrived in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, beginning his multi-city trip through the United States. This is the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's first since replacing his cousin as king-in-waiting last year. The trip is a crucial test for the Crown Prince's ability to justify the wary investors the harsh tactics that have accompanied his social and economic reform efforts.
Last summer, the Senate passed a right to try bill, but last week the bill failed to get the 2/3 majority approval in the House. Right to try offers patients who are desperately ill last chance measures to save their lives. The bill will be considered again this week under standard procedure, which only requires a simple majority or 218 votes approval. It appears certain, while President Trump and Vice President Pence strongly support this bill, Democrats worry because these right to try skirts FDA regulations and procedures. Both the House and Senate bills give patients access to medication that has only been tested in humans.
Vladimir Putin will lead Russia for another 6 years after securing an expected victory and receiving 76% of the vote. This was an even better turnout than last election when he won 64% of votes. Putin's nearest competitor only received 12% of votes. Putin is already Russia's longest-serving leader since Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin. On Sunday, former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden criticized the integrity of Russia's presidential election, claiming that the ballot stuffing is stealing the influence of 140 million plus people. In 2013, Snowden was granted asylum in Russia after he leaked secret information from the National Security Agency's surveillance programs, and has been there ever since. Other critics, however, have followed Snowden's lead and have also slammed the election as a sham. And be sure to tune in to our other shows, RMU Live Mondays at 1 p.m., Fridays at noon, Sports Talk in the Berg and RMU Tonight Wednesdays at 5 p.m., and Colonial Sports Center Thursday at 9:30 p.m. here on RMU TV. And coming up, we will check in with Avon Patel in our Weather Center.
And we send you to Shuley on Sports with our sports anchor, Mike Shuley, coming up.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Here at Robert Morris University, we pride ourselves at the experience that our students gain while they're actively learning in the classroom. Some even come back to share that knowledge with new students.
I never dreamed that I'd be back here. I'm having so much fun. I'm doing a lot of what I was trained to do and what I went to school for.
The Colonial Sports Network is a great opportunity for students to learn real job skills in sports programming.
To be able to see what the students want to make of it, because it can be anything that they want.
I love being here, seeing students, seeing myself in the students that work with me, and I'm really blessed to have so much talent to work with. It's really amazing.
To be able to see students become successful after Upper Morris is really cool.
Join the Colonial Sports Network team and expand your future today.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool.
To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
And let's dig right into this weekend roundup. The Pirates played 4 games this weekend in spring training, splitting 2 of the 4 games. The first game was against the Atlanta Braves, and it would see the Pirates emerge victorious with a score of 12-9. The second game of the weekend would be on Saturday, and the Buccos once again were able to pull out a victory as they went on to beat the Minnesota Twins 13-5. And yesterday the Pirates played 2 split squad games, and they lost both of those contests. One of which was to the Boston Red Sox with a final score of 2-1, and the other to the Toronto Blue Jays with a final of 5-2. And now for Robert Morris Sports, we're going to jump to NCAA tournament action. And even though there are no local teams playing in the tournament, Pittsburgh was still involved as PPG Paints Arena and Duquesne University hosted several games in the arena. There were 4 games in the first round and 2 in the second round, and fans flocked to the arena to see teams like number 1 seeded Villanova and number 2 seeded Duke. Both of these teams were able to win their first and second round games at PPG Paints Arena, and they are now headed to the Sweet 16. As for RMU athletics, the RMU hockey team had a disappointing end to their season in Rochester, New York in the AHC championship game Saturday night. But before that, on Friday, they were able to knock off the number 1 seeded Mercyhurst Lakers in the AHC semifinal by a score of 5-4. Michael Loria was able to score the winning goal in overtime, but the Colonials were led on the night by senior Brady Ferguson, who was able to score a hat trick. This one would then send them to the AHC championship game for their 3rd consecutive season, where they would take on the Air Force Falcons for the 2nd year in a row. And unfortunately for RMU, the same result from a year ago would happen again as the Falcons jumped out to an early lead and they would not let up, as Air Force went on to beat the Colonials 5-1 to win their 2nd straight AHC championship. Freshman Nick Perkusic scored the lone goal for the Colonials. Elsewhere in Robert Morris sports, the women's basketball team's season came to an end after they lost to the Drexel Dragons 57-44 in the first round of the women's NIT tournament. As for RMU lacrosse, the men's team beat Sacred Heart 12-8 on Saturday, and the women's team was able to beat St. Bonaventures 11-6 yesterday. That's it for the sports report. Let's send it over to Avon Patel for a look at the 5-day forecast. Avon?
Thanks, Mike. As we can see here, for a 5-day forecast, we're going to do this streaming click. Wednesday, we're going to have snow with a high of 40 and a low of 20. Thursday will be a high of 39 with a 17. Friday will be 43 and 21. Saturday will be a mix of rain and snow with 39 and low of 29. Sunday with a high of 38 and low of 14. So I would suggest take advantage of today's weather today, because you're not going to have it for the rest of this week with all the snow and rain coming in. I'm going to send it back to the desk with Logan and Reagan to finish out this show.
And that's all we have time for.
We will see you on Friday and next week.